In this video, I want to talk about the graphic design principles that you can't miss. Being a graphic designer, we need to understand the fundamentals, because once you know the fundamentals, it's going to set you up for life, for your career, because you're going to know the core fundamentals of making good design. So there are roughly around 10 core principles or fundamentals of design that you need to learn. Number one being balance. So when it comes to balance, it's like when you think of a logo, is it visually balanced on the screen? When you see it on an app, when you see it on print? Balance is all about getting the right spacing correct, so it's balanced in your eye. It can also relate to like symmetry when you find something like asymmetrical, and it's just nice to visually look at and it's balanced. The second one is line. Using lines is a core way to add a graphical element. It can be used as to support a type layout or placement. Lines can be used to create sort of patterns or even textures, if you know how to do like halftone stuff. So lines are another core thing when it comes to graphic design. The third one is color. We all love color. You know, we see it everywhere. When you drive down the highway, you see the big red and yellow McDonald's sign when you get hungry. But color is seen everywhere. You know, think of the color of the rainbow that God made. It's so beautiful, and it's got so many different colors, from purple, violet to green and blue. It's just amazing. So we need to utilize colors in the best way we can, because colors can evoke emotion. So picking the right colors for the right audience, the right culture and society, colors can have different meanings. So when we learn how to use colors well, it's going to have a greater impact in our designs. Number 4 is contrast. When we think of contrast, it's all about high contrast or low contrast, and that can be in the form of color. So sometimes you might have like a bright visual color compared to a low saturated, muted color. Typically like a pastel color would be low contrast, but like a bright, vibrant blue, neon blue would be like high contrast. So when it comes to color, when it comes to even shapes, you can use things like a small shape to a big shape. That can be considered contrast as well when it's sitting next to each other. Number 5 is scale. Scale is all about size. So when you think of an object, as I said before, you might have something that's really small, like a small little dot, and then you've got a large, big object like an elephant. So if you think of like an elephant and then like a meerkat, two different sized animals, that is like scale. So we can use that in infographics. We can use that in our poster designs, layouts, even in graphical designs. So it's really key to understand that using scale can help you guide the eye visually on a page. So that's another good one. Next up is shape. How can we utilize shape and form to guide the user, the reader, the viewer? How can we use shape to make something interesting instead of making things boring? We can use triangles, squares, rectangles, stars, hexagons, pentagon. You've got so many different ones. How can we use shapes in a way that can give visual interest in terms of a layout or a piece of design? Next one is emphasis. Emphasis is all about how to create emphasis in our designs. So for example, maybe you might have a layout and you've got like a whole stack of dots, and we want to just focus on one little point, on one dot. What we can do is we can highlight that one dot a color like red or yellow, and then the other dots could be like a gray. So obviously that red dot's going to stand out amongst all those gray dots. Another way to think about it is when you have a typography or a headline, you've got light and you've got bold, right? Sometimes you've got like black or extra bold or semi bold or whatever. So that's another way to emphasize a bit of text or a headline. You want to make it bold to make it stand out amongst all the other elements on the page. Next is harmony. Harmony is all about having that tranquility. It's all about having that nice cohesiveness, consistency, that balance. It's all sort of similar, but it's like about having a harmonious, like things that all just work together. All the parts together just make up a nice design. And usually you can see in logos, or sometimes when you see like a badge logo and you've got like some banners on the side or like laurels, and it just works really well in like a circle, things like that. That really brings out the harmony in a design. Next up is texture. I love working with texture. I don't know if you've seen my texture packs, but I love creating textures. It's so fun. the world of textures is so big. You can make your own vector brushes, or even on Photoshop you can make your own brushes. You can take photos outside and use that as an overlay or image, or you can multiply it on top of something, and you can get a lot of different effects with texture. So texture is all about adding that grime, that grit, that organic vibe to make things more interesting, more realistic. And the cool thing about it is that it just gives that little bit of flair to your design. Next is hierarchy. This is a core one. This is like the basics in typography. Like when you think of hierarchy, you got to think of how are you going to lay out things on the page? What's the most important thing and what's the least important thing? So if you've got a poster, you got to understand that, okay, the date is probably important. The name of the concept is probably important. So that text has to be probably bigger and bolder. So make sure that hierarchy works well when you think of a design. And then lastly, I'll say typography. It's more of just a general skill that you need. But it is, I believe, a core fundamental. You need to know how to use type well, right? What type of fonts will you use? How to use body copy, how to do headlines, how to make things stand out. Using typography and layout and aligning things and keeping things, simple, but also how to break the rules. You need to understand how to use typography for each different situation, especially when you're working with a logo. It's like, okay, if it's a fun brand, you got to maybe do a script font. If it's like a serious brand, you might need to do a serif font. So understanding that is going to be the keys. So those are the 11 graphic design principles and fundamentals that you need to know as a graphic designer to grow and impact the world with your skills. So make sure that you learn them and practice. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're a graphic designer who's just starting out and you want to learn more, you can actually jump onto Skillshare. I've got over 20 courses on there where I teach you from freelancing, logo design, brand identity, and a whole bunch more. So if you want to learn, you can get 14 days free on premium. Just click the link in my description to check it out, and I'm sure you'll have a good time. Remember to smash the subscribe button because I do post design content every week to train you as a brand designer. And I also appreciate it if you can smash that like button. I really appreciate it because it helps me know that you like this type of content. Thanks so much. I will catch you next time.